Hey everybody, and welcome to a playful wild ride with Steve-O. We've got the most major playboy on the planet over here, Dan Bilzerian, and this could not be juicier. You hear him tell you he's got $350 million. You hear him speak back to all of these claims that his company Ignite was supposed to go bankrupt. I mean, there's no question this guy will not answer. He's shockingly intelligent, evidently good at business, because he took us on a tour of his house, and hand to God, it's the most ridiculous house I have ever set foot in my life. Gotta say, this guy ranks among the most fascinating people I've ever spoken to. So, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Bilzerian. Yeah, dude. So this is my co-host, Scott Randolph.
Hello, what's up?
My brand new other co-host, Vinny.
What's up, dude?
How do you say your last name? Imperati?
Imperati, there you go.
Imperati.
Yeah, right on the
Skinny
nose.
Vinny on Instagram.
Yeah, that's right.
Now the first question, who humped more last night?
I mean,
he walked in and said 5 times last night.
Well, one person though, so
Yeah.
actually less impressive.
Dude,
so
Vinny-
one person 3 times last night, once this morning.
Okay.
You? Yeah.
So putting up a fight, but still losing.
Still losing.
Yeah, that's good, man. So yeah, dude, we've been working on doing this podcast for a long time.
Yeah,
We're finally here.
No.
Parked outside of your. I mean, you can't even call this a house, right? What do you call it? An estate?
Yeah, compound. Yeah, so it was nice for COVID, man.
I bet.
Yeah, there's like 4 villas side by side.
Yeah, so we got like the rec center with the basketball, and then full paintball field. Got a dirt bike track. You'd probably
RV
kill
parking.
yourself out there. Yeah.
Do you have a hockey rink in there?
So it was a hockey rink, and I made it into a basketball court / like pickleball.
It's so rad.
Yeah.
Dude, it's epic. So you recently had a book come out, and as I'm reading it, I'm because I'm a sober guy, like
Yeah.
no drugs, no alcohol, and like I'm a sex addict guy who like sexual sobriety is a thing. So I'm reading your book, and it's like, man, like I banged 5 chicks, you know, like, and I'm honestly concerned as I read it. It's so legitimately explosively juicy that I'm like worried about my sobriety as I'm reading it. I'm like, man, I don't know if this is a good idea. So I think that's probably as good of a recommendation as you can get. Your book scared me for my own recovery.
Yeah. So you were like a former sex addict.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've got almost 6 years under my belt of not. Actually, I think not putting my wiener anywhere it doesn't belong.
Wow, that's good, man.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's so stressful. Like, number one, it's just the gnarliest time suck, like chasing chicks around.
Yeah, and it like pulls your energy. There's a lot of negatives to it for sure.
And then there's like the anxiety, like, what did I put my dick in? Oh my God, I gotta go to the doctor. I'm you know, like, oh, like what you know, the health concerns is just so stressful. And then with you know, the current, God, I'm glad I stopped acting out sexually when I did, because it seems like a really dangerous playing field to be on these days.
Yeah, I was like good about it, and my like when I was really going hard, it was just always condoms.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where if you use it every time, then you're okay. But if you try and like sometimes not, sometimes do it, then every time you're wearing it, you're like, fuck, this doesn't feel as good, or like you know, rip the thing off. So for like, I don't know, 3 years, I think I only had sex with a condom. Like I would even test girls and then still fuck them with a condom, which really pissed them off.
Wow. How do you test a girl? That's interesting.
Piss test, blood tests. Yeah, I'd have like doctors come out. Like even now, like I do tests every week, so I'm like pretty.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
you
good.
do STD tests every week from your house?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Sometimes twice a week. It's weird. I mean, it's one of those things where like I haven't I haven't had issues with STDs. It's just I'll get prostatitis. So, because I had a girlfriend, so I was like banging her without a condom, and then occasionally like I'd fuck other chicks without a condom, because it's kind of hard to like I said, if you're always doing it, then it's no big deal. Your dick actually gets more sensitive. But if you're just picking and choosing, oh, she looks slutty, I'll wear a condom, and then like, a Percocet and a fucking 5 beers in, you're like, oh, she's probably not that dirty, or we'll take the risk,
Yeah.
And so I just found like the bacteria would just give me prostatitis, and then make me piss all the time.
Oh, man.
Yeah, which was just annoying,
Yeah.
So
I piss all the time. I blame it on all the coffee I drink all day.
yeah. Well, coffee. When I was like, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what I've been really looking forward to talking to you, because I saw, and I think that the timing of it was when Ignite went public. All of a sudden, like in going public, the financial records of the company are made public for all to see. And there was just what looked like a wave of like financial YouTubers just saying, oh, this is a slam dunk. Like, oh, Ignite's going to declare bankruptcy any minute now. I'm waiting. And
yeah,
then
they've been waiting for like 3 years for that. So basically, it went public, I think, in like 18. It kind of like went public like right off the bat. But then the financials are a little bit delayed. And I think it was basically like when COVID really hit, and I was moving out of the house in LA because we couldn't throw parties. Our like production got stopped in China. It was like this whole thing. So we were like, okay, let's cut costs. And we're really like selling the wrong product, honestly. That was the real issue. It's like we came into the thing doing weed, but you're only in a certain, couple of states. And 80% of my following is outside the US, right? So I'm like dropping atomic bombs on anthills every time I do a post. It's like all these people, they want to buy the product, but there's no product to sell them, right? So when we switched over to the nicotine, the vapes, then it was like, bam, like worldwide, everybody can get them, we can ship them, better margins, just entirely better business. There's not a lot of guys in the pot business killing it at all. I think like Burner might be the only one. Just because you're competing with the black market, they don't have to test their shit. There's like, they're not paying taxes. You tax the legal guys like the same as cocaine dealers, as 280E. So like they get no write-offs. It's just a brutal business. They can't bank, so they're dealing with cash. Basically all the negatives of like doing an illegal business, but like it's technically legal. And then you're competing against other guys that aren't playing by the rules. So it's like they're not testing their products. They don't have to wait. So it's like, and they're going direct to consumer. They're not paying $18 million for a fucking license. So their margins don't have to be as high. It's like this whole thing, right? So we got out of that. That was a fucking godsend. But the real like hail of press came down when we fired our CEO. So our CEO, we fired him. He was like, I honestly think the dude was like doing drugs. He was so erratic. Like I think he had like a real problem. But anyways,
didn't you have like multiple CEOs? Like you kind of cycled through a number of them.
Yeah, I think he was like our third one. Right. So we got rid of him, and he did this whole like whistleblower thing, and like went to the press. He basically like was trying to like blackmail us for money, and we're like, fuck you, we're not paying you. He goes to the press, like they're blowing money, they're doing this, they're doing that. And so the press did some articles, and then all the YouTube guys jumped on that bandwagon. Right. And we like weren't profitable. We had lost like, I think it was like $50 million, which if you think about like the grand scheme of a company, like Uber lost like $5 billion in a quarter. You know what I mean? There's like a lot of like really valuable companies that aren't even profitable. Like Tesla's like not profitable for a long time.
Yeah, and Netflix isn't profitable, I think.
There's a ton of them. You know? There's a ton of them. So like when you're starting a business and you're building a brand, like many times you're not going to be profitable, especially we're in the wrong business. So there was like that whole thing, and then like every YouTuber jumped on, and it was just like negative press, and I thought about addressing it, but it was like a weird thing because these YouTube guys that get 1 million views, 2 million views, but every post of mine is getting 40, 50 million fucking views. So it's like, do I want to like shine a big fucking light on these assholes? Right. And I think it would have been different if like CNN did some shit, Right. But it was like these random YouTube kids. So I just chose to like focus on my book and like not really like address it, but then that kind of like sent a wildfire of like, all this like uncontested stuff, and as like the bad press always does better than the good press. So Yeah, it was crazy. You know, I'm like, worth $350 million. These people are like, he's going broke. He's fleeing the country. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like,
I agree completely. I agree completely with that approach. You know, like silence is the deadliest weapon for sure. But I think that when stuff was going on, you did get pretty quiet on your Instagram. Didn't you not post for a while there?
Yeah, so I was writing that book for 2 years, man.
Okay. Dude,
like, I
just
legitimately wrote the whole fucking thing and did like all but one edit myself. So it was
Wow.
a fucking big project.
I just put out my second book. I wrote it with a co-writer, and man, it's the gnarliest amount of work.
Yeah, well, I wasn't a reader and I wasn't a fucking writer. So like doing a 500. Well, it started 708 pages. So like doing a book that like reduced to 500 pages is a fucking like big undertaking for a guy that doesn't write. And then doing all your edits like minus one. I did 36 of the 37. So
yeah. So how many Instagram followers do you have at this point?
Instagram I think is like 33.
33 million.
Yeah.
It's rad too. You've got like legit engagement, you know.
Well,
like you've got millions of likes on your thing. Like they're not like fake followers. Who is it?
Well, my shit's underrepresented. You have to understand, like, because there's so many people following me that aren't actually following me, right? That have my notifications on. I mean, dude, my last story got 9.5 million views.
Wow.
Like on a story, you know. So it's like, and I can show you the numbers. Like you can see it on the back end. So there's no faking the back end, right? Like so, I mean. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I like compared my numbers to The Rock, to Kylie Jenner, Kendall Jenner, Kardashian. Like I beat all of them. It's not even close. Like The Rock, I think I have like 50x his engagement, you know. And so it's like you look at the people viewing and liking and whatever, and it's a lot, man. But the thing is, like I said, 80% is outside the U.S. So like our big challenge was finding a product that we can market outside. And so now we're like fucking crushing it in South America. We're killing it in fucking Africa, like even the fucking Congo. Like who would have thought in a million years people would be following me from the fucking Congo, you know? And so it's a weird thing. We're like trying to get, you know, products into all these different markets, but then the regulatory stuff, but we're, you know, doing well. I think we're in like, I want to say 60 countries right now, so.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
That's surprising that you've got 80% of your following outside the U.S. I forget what, I think mine is like 50-50.
So what happened was, like, I would get this press, and then the Daily Mail would run it, and then all these different publications would pick up the same article and just run around the world. And there's this, like, fascination with U.S. celebrity, you know? Because, like, if you think about it, like, what celebrities are in China, you know? What celebrities are in India? I mean, I'm sure they have them, but, like, nobody that we know about, you know?
Jackie Chan.
Yeah, he's, like, old school, yeah.
Right. But, dude, it's fun following you on Instagram, man. I enjoy it. Just guns and pussies.
Yeah,
you know?
it started off like a bucket list, man. It was like all the things that I wanted to do when I was younger. I just said, because I made a lot of money in like 2013, 14, right?
That was from poker?
Yeah, so I'd like kind of struggled, climbed the ladder, and then I found my niche, which is what I always knew that I was going to find, which was like the fucking super rich billionaire guys. And when I got into those games, it was like fucking wheels came off the wagon, you know, like $10 million wins in a night, $12 million, you know, crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
And so like it was like grind, like all of a sudden like knock it out of the park. And with less effort, like worse players, less risk, but it was fucking bigger money, you know? It's like still got a risk to win, you know? Like you got to bet $5 million to win $5 million. So it was like, you know, it was a lot of stress, but that always was where I knew I was going to end up. Like I wasn't trying to be like one of these assholes collecting bracelets, playing online, like showing everybody how fucking good I was. I was, you know, wanted to be perceived as a trust fund idiot that didn't know how to play, that got in with all these fucking, you know, like producers and celebrities, and eventually like we were playing so big that the celebrities couldn't afford it, the fucking producers couldn't, you know what I mean? So it was like this crazy thing where it's like rare air, you know?
Were you in that
Molly's game?
Yeah, the Molly's game.
Yeah, I actually wrote the first chapter of her book.
Wow.
So yeah, it was funny, man, that movie like so accurately depicted her.
Nice.
Like it was scary how like spot on it was. But yeah, no, her game was a real thing, and it was like, yeah, I remember that Bradley Ruderman guy came in, he lost like $25 million, and I got a little bit of it. I actually had I won 85,000, and I had to write a check for 100 grand to get the 85. and then I think she like, or wait, no, sorry, they gave me a check for 100. I paid her 15,000 in cash for my 85 win. And then when they came after me for the 100. So they came after me for more than I even fucking won. And they didn't just win it from him. It's like a ring game, but he was like one of the losers, so I ended up getting a check from him. I don't even know if I beat him for any money. But so I had to pay that back, and then I had to pay like Nick Cassavetes's money back. I mean, just to put this in perspective, this would be like if somebody fucking robbed the bank and went into a fucking convenience store and bought a candy bar and ate it, and then went and bought a suit and fucking wore it, and then they go back to the fucking tailor and the fucking store owner and like, oh, you should have known this guy fucking got his money illegally, like, give the money back. Right. It's like, no, motherfucker, you know, just like if I had lost in the game, they're not going to give me my money back, you know, so it's like the worst free roll of all time.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have a character in that movie, or?
No, I asked her to, like, stay out of it. At the time, I was like, because I was playing in, like, 2011 when she was writing this book, and this was before, like, Instagram, all this shit, and like nobody knew what the fuck I was, and I was kind of like trying to stay under the radar at the time. So yeah.
Good, man. Yeah. Like, so talk to us about like the role that your dad has in the company, because everyone's like, oh, this guy, you know, crazy, went to prison, and like. Yeah,
he started helping out like around about the time we got rid of Curtis. And so, yeah, I was like not a guy that ran fucking companies, you know. I was a marketing guy. I was a guy that like understood what people wanted to see, and I could like, you know, figure out like what products were good and, you know, what people would want. But like running a company was not my forte. So yeah, he's been like helping out, and that's been good. I think that's been like one of the reasons why I've been able to like really like turn this thing around, to be honest.
I think that, you know, in some respects, I look at what you do and compare it to, like, hip-hop, like rappers just being, like, you know, extravagant, crazy, you know. Like, when everybody was like, oh, we got you, like, you didn't own that house, you were renting it. Yeah. Like, to me, I'm like, that makes perfect fucking sense. You know what else makes perfect sense to me? Not suffering from malnutrition. That's right. And that's why I use Athletic Greens, because it is the most comprehensive, convenient, and frankly delicious supplement out there. One scoop of AG1 from Athletic Greens provides me with 75 different vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens. It helps with my gut health. It helps with my cognitive ability. It fills in every single gap in my diet. There's genuinely not another supplement out there that can give you as much as AG1 from Athletic Greens. I start my morning with a pint of water and one scoop of AG1. It is delicious. I'm hydrated. I'm off to the races. I'm quick. I'm smart. I'm healthy. And you can be too. If you go to athleticgreens.com/Stevo, not only will you be in this elite club of people, but you will also get, with your first order, 5 comprehensive, convenient daily nutrition packets and an entire year's supply of immune-boosting vitamin D. Yes, from Athletic Greens. So once again, go to athleticgreens.com/Stevo for 5 travel packs, a whole year's supply of vitamin D. And you're going to love it, because I do too. Let's get into this. You know,
I've rented every fucking house I've ever had in my life. You know, like, I've never owned a piece of real estate in California in my life. I never wanted to be a resident. Part of it was taxes, part of it was laws, part of it was I just like didn't want to fucking sink that much dough in, you know. And so it was one of those things. I actually paid $5 million for the option to buy that house, and the plan was to buy that house, but not to like keep it, to flip it, because I thought, you know, we actually got a strike price. I think it was like $60 million for that house. It was listed for like 90, and I figured, you know, we could make this the new fucking Playboy Mansion, but cooler, whatever. And if you remember, the Playboy Mansion sold for like 120 million. It was a shithole.
Yeah.
It was a house that like you literally it's a tear down, you know.
I'm pretty sure I was banned from it, but they didn't take kindly to me blatantly doing cocaine right out in the open. Like you're supposed to have a little bit of discretion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I went there and it was like always like a childhood dream to go there, but I didn't go till it was like later when they were kind of like selling the tickets for like the Karma thing or whatever. And it was cool, but it wasn't like back in the day, you know?
Yeah, I bet.
And what's the coolest party you've ever been to that comes to mind?
I mean, dude,
definitely the ones I threw.
Right.
I mean, I threw some fucking monsters. I mean, they were like, I had Cardi B performing in my living room. Like, it was, I mean, we had 3,000 girls and like maybe 300 guys, you know? I remember one time I had invited like some veterans out and there was like, because I told these girls, like, look, if you don't want to shuttle, you got to show up early. So there's, I think it was like 18 or 1,900 girls in lingerie running around the house. And there was like me and like, I don't know, it's like 6 amputee veterans or something. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like nothing but fucking pussy everywhere. And so like, I just always knew like when you started a party like that, like with that ratio, like the power could go out, you could run out of liquor. It's like, there's no way the party's not going to be good. The fucking singer could not show up. But if you got all the hot pussy, I mean, that's why guys go to the club. We don't go there to dance. Right. We're not going there to fucking bob our head. We could drink in our fucking, you know, goddamn closet with our buddies if all we care. Like, we're going to the club to get pussy. That's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize. Like, the only reason guys go to the club is to get laid. We're not going there to talk to our friends. Because why the fuck do you want to, like, scream at your buddy? Can't fucking hear anything. Like, nobody goes there other than to get pussy. Like, these girls go there to dance, maybe. But, like, the guys, it's to get laid. So if you want to throw a good party, you have a bunch of fucking hot girls and you have the ratio right. And I realized that, like, you know, when you have the ratio right, the girls have to come to you. It's a very different dynamic. And so that's what I always want to create. You know, and I did it, like, on a smaller scale when I was living at Blue Jay. It was, like, Richard Gere's old house. And had, like, 300 girls, you know, 30 guys. And would do these, like, pool parties. And, fuck, man, the girls got aggressive because nobody's paying attention to them. So they're, like, coming to you, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a very different dynamic when that's happening, you know.
How do you get 300 girls? Are you like emptying out a model agency into your house?
Promoters, modeling agencies, and then I was also throwing poker games, so I was like hiring a lot of these girls to like do the poker stuff, and these girls are making $3,000 to $5,000 a night, you know. So it's a very like coveted gig, and then they would
That's
bring
what
their
you're
friends.
paying them?
I wasn't paying them shit. I actually made money off of them.
Nice.
So we would split the tips 50-50. So it was like I offered them, I'd either pay them $100 an hour or we could split the tips. And what I found was, like, unequivocally, the girls that split the tips would fucking, you know, make a killing because they cared. And the girls that you paid hourly were like, you know, usually they would make more than you paid them, but they weren't as motivated. So then we just went straight to, like, splitting the tips. But like I said, they're making so much fucking money. Like, the smallest chip we had on the table was, I think, like $500 chips. So, like, the minimum these girls are getting tipped is $500 to get a drink, to fucking, you know, rub somebody's back. It's like, you know, and then these guys are winning, you know, $500,000 pots, and it's like, you know, they feel cheap throwing them anything other than $5,000. So it's like one of these like weird scenarios where these girls would make crazy bread, and yeah, then they would bring their friends, and it was this whole thing. So like, I mean, what the fuck are you gonna do if you're a model? Like, go fucking bust your ass, wear 30 outfits, and shoot for fucking, you know, $400, or are you gonna go like work a poker game for 4 hours and make 5,000? You know, so it's like one of those things where it was like, this was before like the sugar daddy craze, this is before like, you know, OnlyFans, before like the whole ecosystem got ruined, you know. And so like back when like 5,000 was a lot of fucking money to these girls, now it's like, you know, shit, like the whole thing's crazy and turned on its head. But like back then it was a big fucking deal, you know. And so they were like really fighting to work these games.
How do you're asking about 300 girls, how do you get 3 girls to my house? You know, like, I'm trying to figure that out, dude.
Well, like I said, the poker thing was like a big thing. And so, and here's another thing with the poker thing is like, so girls started realizing like, hey, we can invite other girls and take 20% of their money. So like if one girl invites 5 girls and she's getting 20% of, you know, what these girls are making, she's making the same amount, but she doesn't have to work, right? So then, you know, they send over, you know, tons of girls. So I had like this pipeline of like constant like new chicks. And when they would like come over to like interview for these games, I mean, it was like literally like, you know, these chicks like thought it was like the casting couch. And I'm like, I'm like, this is a fucking business, you know what I mean? Like, I got tons of pussy. I'm not like worried about getting my dick sucked in the bathroom here. But these chicks, like, these chicks were like ready to do it all, And it was one of those things where, we would play poker like big enough stakes, so the guys didn't really give a fuck about the girls. But you wanted to have the hot girls there anyways. But the focus was on the poker. Like, we're playing for crazy money. So, like, I think the smaller games kind of got the reputation of where the girls are getting paid to fuck and, like, they're doing drugs and people are drinking and shit. But, like, at my games, nobody's getting fucked up. It was, like, serious. They were, like, everybody's out for blood. They're fucking,
Do you have an old OnlyFans?
Do I?
Yeah, it seems like it would make perfect sense to have like an uncensored version of Dan Bilzerian's Instagram that you got to pay for on OnlyFans.
Yeah, I made one, but I just I don't know, man. I felt fucking like cheesy posting on there, and then also like I didn't really want to like expose the girls because there was like we had some crazy shit that always happens. That honestly, like I can't post 90% of the shit that happens, right? Girls are running around naked. You can't do that. You can't have suggested. You can't have hand bras. You can't.
You
obviously
can't have
no
suggested.
Sex.
What's suggested?
I think like where it looks
sex?
like it looks like something's even if it it is happening or it looks like it's happening.
Right.
Like Instagram got pretty serious.
Dude,
And
they got
TikTok's
really pussified, man.
Yeah, they did, and so I think that's one of the reasons why OnlyFans is doing so well. That and guys are just way lonelier than I ever thought they were. Like, it's a crazy thing, man. Like I remember when they came to me with this concept of OnlyFans, and I'm like, so you're telling me that the guy's gonna pay to talk to a girl that he's not fucking? I'm like, you're fucking retarded, man. Like,
I didn't even know that's what it was. I thought you had to pay on an per post basis. You have to pay to unlock an image.
Well, you could pay to chat as well.
Yeah, there's like different things. Like originally it was like you subscribe to their page, and then you like pay in the chat, and then like the unlock pictures. There's like a lot of different ways to skin the cat, I think.
Right.
But like,
isn't that just like a strip club?
Kind of. I mean, it's like a virtual like online.
Dude, I think she likes me, dude.
And the funny thing is, the really fucking kicker of this whole goddamn deal is most of the fucking people that these guys are talking to are other dudes or fucking old ladies. It's not the chick.
Wow. Well, I was doing it for Priya. I was texting for Priya.
Yeah. So dudes are dropping 30 grand on this motherfucker.
Talking to me. Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Was paying me to text for her.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say that?
I don't fucking know. Well, it's too late now.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I would have a template, of like already like phrases that she wanted me to reply with. And like, they'd be sending me dick pics.
Did she have like a whole? So it's like, oh, show me something. You've just got like a little arsenal of pictures of her.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I'm telling you, that's the norm. Like for you to actually be talking to the chick is very rare.
I bet. Back in the day of like the 1-900 call center thing.
Yeah, that kind of shit.
That might be chicks, but not the ones in the pictures.
Yeah. No.
Nowadays, you're probably talking to like an AI bot that's like not even fucking
AI bot.
real.
Yeah,
that's the future of it. Right? They basically like ask the questions, and then you have a bunch of like their answers to the most commonly asked questions, and then AI bot just answers.
Figure it out.
Here's the thing: like when you have 2 million followers or whatever the fuck these girls have. How can you respond to all these people? So it's like they basically pay the agencies like 20-25%, and then those people answer around the clock, and then they just make more money. They're paying out a piece, but they're making more like net at the end of the day because somebody's responding 24/7.
Yeah, the margin on that, like who cares if it's just the volume is fucking insane.
That's the thing, and the girls are lazy too, so they'll just like forget to text or like. That was one of the most surprising things to me about the OnlyFans stuff is these girls be making like real money. I mean like $50,000 a month, $40,000 a month. And they would actually get lazy. To me, it's like if I'm making that kind of bread, I want to make 70. I want to make 80. I want to like, how far can we take this, right? This is a fucking cash cow, and let's cash in now. These chicks are like, well, I bought my purse, I got my shoes, my sugar daddy's paying my car, like I don't really need to work, so I'm not going to work. Instead of like, let's fucking make all the money while we can because we literally have a 3-year shelf life before we fucking, are not attractive anymore or whatever,
Right.
So it's like...
What did... And a lot of them don't realize they have to pay taxes on that. Did you ever have an issue with like killing it a lot of money and like the learning curve of like paying the tax man right away, or?
I got fucked. So one of the reasons why I'd never got a house in California was because of California taxes. My problem was I made a lot of the fucking poker money in California. So one of the things people don't realize, like if you're in, you know, I don't know, man, Puerto Rico, USVI, I don't know if you're aware of those tax, you know, things.
That's why the Paul brothers moved to 100%. Puerto Rico.
Yeah, they're paying 4%. Like literally 4% on all of their shit.
So no representation without taxation. Right, so they don't have a governor there because they don't pay taxes, or there's no senator representing them because they don't pay taxes.
I don't know what like the reason is, but I do know like Puerto Rico's like that. It's U.S. territory. USVI is like that, and they pay 4%, and it's not, and that's like on cap gains. That's on their income. That's on everything. So it's a mass. My buddy saved $75 million in 1 year. You know what I mean? Just doing it. So it's like, and you don't have to live there the whole year. It's like 6 months or the majority.
6 months in 1 day will do the trick.
That's the first, and then the second year, I think it's just more time there than in the U.S. You could spend 4 months in Europe, you know, for the summer, then spend 4 months in a day there, and then 3 months in fucking 29 days, you know, in California, and you're fine. So if you're making a lot of money and you're doing it like online, there's fucking no better shit. But anyways, the point that I'm getting to is like, even if you're in that tax loophole, every dollar that you make in California, you pay California tax. So if you are a fucking like, I don't even know the Texas fucking teams, whatever, Florida teams. Let's say you're a fucking Tampa Bay Buccaneer and you play a game in LA, you pay California taxes on that game and every game that you play. So if you play, it's fucked up, man. It's like the craziest thing ever.
Well, because remember I was looking to move to Nevada, or I was looking to move somewhere because just to buy a house, and I've talked to maybe 5 or 6 accountants, and they're like, all your money comes from California, so there's no tax breaks on it. Because I was trying to get creative with it, and you know, some people set up a thing in Wyoming or Delaware. It's like, where do you work? And I'm like, well, all the LLCs are registered in California. And they're like, okay.
Man, that's crazy. You ever get into crypto? I gotta believe that you were hip to that.
Yeah, so actually, I had a chapter in there about, we sent this kid so they had banned white guys from Macau when they opened the Wynn in Macau for you know, regular gambling.
Macau's a country.
Off of China. It's a territory of China.
Asia, I
went there.
Yeah, so they got like big casinos, a lot of hookers, you know what I mean? Like these Asian guys love it. They go there, they eat the fucking bird's nest soup, butt fuck hookers, and gamble all goddamn day. It's like the degenerate capital of the world. Right? It's literally all there is to do is fuck hookers and gamble.
It's like Vegas with grass.
Yeah. It's like Vegas with like less options of shit to do.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they even have clubs. Anyways, I've never been there, but I'd sent some people over there. So another way that I would make money in poker is taking pieces of other people. Like people would play like above their bankroll, they couldn't afford it. Sometimes, you know, like this Jay Farber guy, gave him $2,000. He got second in the World Series, paid me $1 million something, you know, off my $2,000. So, you know, another guy gave him.
That's a great return.
Yeah.
You want to talk about crazy returns? Well, UFC fans, get a load of this. DraftKings Sportsbook is doing something nuts for UFC 283 this weekend. Anybody who's a new customer who downloads the DraftKings Sportsbook app with the promo code STEVO and places even a $5 bet on UFC 283 automatically gets $200 in free bets to just play with. That's crazy returns. So we've got the vacant light heavyweight title up for grabs. Who's going to get it? Glover Teixeira or Jamal Hill? And that's not the only title on the line. We got Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo for the first time 2 fighters have faced each other in the octagon for 4 times in the history of the organization. So, you want action? Then get on it. DraftKings Sportsbook is the app to download. You download that, and if you're new to DraftKings, then hallelujah, because $5 bet gives you $200 in free bets to just play with. That's insane. And if you're going to watch UFC 283, then I think you might enjoy it more if you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app first. But of course, minimum age and eligibility requirements apply. Now, let's get back to it.
No, I mean, there's crazy ones. Like one guy gave him 1.25 million to go play this banker guy, and he, won 42 million in one night and sent me 10.5 million or whatever, and 10 and a quarter, whatever.
You have to claim that. I mean, how do you? What is that business?
It's just
investing.
It's gambling. No, not cap gains, because it's not a year. Cap gains is basically if you have stock, you hold it for a year and then you sell it after the year.
Okay.
But this is just like straight, like buying a piece, like a syndicate or whatever. And so like people would do. This is very common in poker where they'd like syndicate out like pieces.
It would be like investing in another entity, assuming they're their own business.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like how what's it called, Full Tilt Poker got started. So it was Phil Ivey, like it was like a conglomerate of like 10 pros that went to play this billionaire guy that was like wanting to play the fucking highest stakes ever. Andy Beal, he wrote a book about it. I think it was called like, I don't remember, the Billionaire Banker, whatever the fuck it was. Anyways, so these guys were all playing him, and he was actually fucking beating a lot of these pros because he was playing them so big. It was like 1,000, 2,000, like limit poker, where like the minimum bet was 100 grand or something. This was like back before like people were playing crazy stakes like they are now. So like this was like insane money, and it was like making these guys nervous. And he was very aggressive, and he was playing heads up, which is in effect a strategy for heads up. It was Phil Ivey. He was like the only guy that was able to fucking take this dude down. But anyways, when he did take him down, he beat him for like $20 million or some crazy amount. And then they started Full Tilt Poker with that money. And, fucking, it was like all good until they started embezzling and doing fucked up shit. But they were making like crazy money on Full Tilt Poker. And that was started because of that one game that they all had pieces of.
Wow.
So,
What, like in these high stakes poker games, like when people like just straight lose, do you see like whatever, like the Mercedes car keys go on the table, like the deed to the house?
not usually, but there are dudes that do like literally just fucking lose it all. And like there's been some instances. Like I was actually playing in a game with like Guy Liberté, is the guy that owns Circus Soleil, playing with him at his house in Ibiza, and there was like one guy there that got in like way over his head. And these were games where you could lose like $1 million on a night, and so this guy was like fucking buried like underwater. There's another guy that lost like basically everything. So there are some guys that, it's like any kind of gambling,
Right.
You can just, if you fucking lose enough, and at these stakes, it's like not that hard. But the reason I brought up Macau was, you asked me about the crypto. So I sent a guy over. They had banned white guys from Macau because these white guys were going over there taking off these fucking Asian guys for big money. And so they banned white guys from poker. So I found an Asian kid that spoke Mandarin that was like a U.S. pro that was like fucking good and solid.
Wow.
We staked him, sent the money over with him. He went over there and made fucking millions of dollars for us. The only way he could pay us is in fucking crypto. And I remember at the time bitching that I had to pay 5% juice on this Bitcoin. I was like, it's fucking bullshit. I don't want to pay 5%. Like, give me 2.5%. This whole thing. He's like, well, I can come back with cash, and because 5%, on a fucking million is 50 grand. It's like not, meaningless money. So I was like trying to negotiate. The guy was like wouldn't budge. Anyways, you could like come back with cash, but I think it was like Chinese, like it would have been like duffel bags, right? And like, what the fuck are you gonna do with this money? So he ended up sending the Bitcoin. I put it on a laptop, just like forgot about it. And this was like, dude, I think when we got the money, I think Bitcoin was at like $300 a coin or something.
Holy shit.
Crazy. Yeah. So it was like years later, my buddy's like, fucking, Bitcoin's like going off, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I got some of that. I was like, it's on this laptop. I had it in my safe. I fucking didn't remember the password. And I was like, come on, it was like fucking a lot of money. Cause like Bitcoin had gone way up. And I was like, fuck, man. I was one of those assholes that was like trying to figure out my password. I actually figured it out and like was able to access this wallet. Thankfully I had like done it with this other guy that was like a super rich guy, because anybody else probably would have just ripped me off and taken the fucking thing. But yeah, so I ended up, and then I held it, and then I actually bought like Ethereum, and I bought a bunch of stuff. So I rode the wave. I made a lot of money in crypto.
You got out before it tanked?
Man, I was able to call such good fucking like times to cash out. Dude, I cashed out at like 16.50 and the high was like 19 something. And I remember because I was like, I rode it up to the 19, and my buddy was like panicking, trying to sell. He's like trying to sell to me. I'm like, bro, I got so much fucking Bitcoin. I don't need any more, but just hold on to it. Don't be a pussy. Like I was giving him the whole speech, and he was a trader. He was a natural gas trader. And never forget to me, he said, if you're not a buyer at 17.7 or whatever the fuck he was trying to sell it to me, he goes, you should be a seller. I thought about that. And he's right, you know, like if you don't want to buy at a certain price, then you should probably be fucking selling, you know, like if you think that it's more likely that it's going to go down than up, or the proportion, whatever. And so I did. Like when it went down to 65, I sold almost all of it and fucking cashed out a shitload of money. And then I actually got back in again and wrote it back up. And then I sold it at like, fuck, man, I sold the next one at like 58 or some shit. And like the high was like 60. So I was just, I don't know, man. I was like, I didn't have like a crystal. I mean, and I also made some stupid ones. Like I've held some fucking Ethereum, which is now worth jack shit. And I bought some BNB, but like the big money, I actually cashed out like fucking perfectly well. I was like so lucky.
What's your idea on the future of crypto?
Man, I mean, it's like, well, you know it's the future, right? Like, I mean, the U.S.
I know it's the future.
Well, I mean,
these guys don't know it's the future.
Well, no, I mean, I think
They're still
everybody
writing checks at the fucking grocery market to like.
Well, I'm not saying like Bitcoin is the future. I'm saying crypto is the future,
Yeah.
and it's unequivocal. Like the
Blockchain.
U.S. already announced that they're doing their own digital currency. I mean, that's gonna, like, there's no like doubt about it. It's gonna be digital currency eventually. Like,
sure, of course.
because the governments then, I mean, they have so many. I'm surprised they haven't done it already, because there's so many reasons why they would do it. A, tracking your money. B, it stops drug dealing. It stops crimes. It's like you can trace shit. You know, there's just so many reasons why. Like, I mean, listen, most all the criminal activity operates with cash, right? Or, you know, maybe like some of the you know.
Probably, but isn't crypto like the benefit of it is that it's not regulated? But
Well, it is now. I think now they've done like basically regulatory statutes on like, and they're treating it, I think, like a securities in the U.S. So I think you have to declare it, and you've got to basically like.
But once you do that, then doesn't it defeat the purpose of what it is in the first place?
Well, a part of the reason why crypto was appealing was the privacy of it, but the real big thing is that you have instantaneous transfers. Like if you go to do a wire, it's like 3-4 days or something internationally, and then they're gonna ask you a bunch of fucking questions, and then maybe they don't send the wire, or then wires can get kicked back, or like, you know, there's all these fucking things. With crypto, it's like, boom, that shit's gone. Like, it's sent, it's in your wallet, you have it. So it's like, if you're selling a car, you know, you get the crypto, you give them the car keys and the title, and it's done. Like, otherwise, if it's a check, that check could fucking bounce. They could send you a fucking fake wire, and then the wire could kick back. I mean, it's like a whole thing, right?
If you go to a different country, you're not losing money on an exchange rate. You could just pay Bitcoin to Bitcoin, and it's like...
That's another thing, you know? It's like, and it's like taking money to and from countries, like traveling with your wealth. You know, I mean, the government freezes your fucking accounts all the time. Like, I mean, look at what they did with Tate. They like kicked him off fucking Instagram. They kicked him off like WhatsApp. They shut down all of his fucking banking. They did this all like at the exact same time. So like, you know, there was like a unilateral like fucking like attack on him. They shut down his emails. Like,
Yeah,
it was
and-
pretty crazy.
I mean, and forget about just like with an individual. Like the American government is very, very touchy about money leaving America. That's why they've got like the FATCA like law with like, you know, any international bank that has American customers, like they're terrified to touch American money.
They don't want to. Yeah, no, we've tried to set up like international accounts, and if it's ever in U.S. dollars, it's like this whole fucking thing. Anything in
Right.
U.S. dollars has to run through a U.S. bank before.
Right.
And they're basically like IRS agents now too. So like the bank has like this obligation to like check out all their customers, report anything that they deem suspicious.
So why would the American government, when they're not okay with money leaving America, be into the idea of crypto where you
Because
can't
they control it. So if it's a U.S. digital currency, they control it, and then they can print more, and then they can fucking, you know, like monitor every single transaction. Like if they want to audit you, they can go through the whole fucking thing, and
That
everything's on
sounds
there.
exactly like what that would defeat the purpose of
Oh
crypto.
no,
in my-
that's not what we want. Like, trust me,
Right.
that's the worst case scenario of this.
So it's like catch-22. Like what people love about crypto, the government doesn't love about crypto, and so what the government's okay with, nobody wants. So it just seems like a non-starter.
Well, one of the big reasons why I was like hesitant about like very long-term crypto is because I felt like the government could easily just, you know, abolish this or, you know, make it illegal
Right.
or whatever under so many different things. Like, oh, this is to fund terrorism. Oh,
Right.
this is for sex trafficking.
All the dark
this
web
is
shit.
illegal. Yeah, there's so many things that they could just like hide behind, be like, oh, well, we're stopping this, or we're doing this, or whatever, and this is bad because of this, and this, and then everybody that like didn't invest in crypto that felt like they missed out is going to be like rooting for it to be fucking canceled, and you know, so it was like one of those things where I always felt like that was a real risk, and a lot of these people looked at crypto, I think, more like a religion, where it was like, you know, they just unilaterally fucking believed in this, and they didn't, you know, and they're in these echo chambers, right, where like everybody else is
Right.
like big crypto guys, and so they're like
Right.
gassing each other up.
Let me ask you, when's the last time you changed your mattress? How infested is it with disgusting stains and smells and bed bugs and mites? I mean, you know you're supposed to get a new mattress every once in a while. And why not get one that will give you the best night's sleep ever? How do I know that mattresses from helixsleep.com are going to give you the best night's sleep ever? Because they've got the easy 2-minute quiz. You go to helixsleep.com/Stevo. You take this little quiz and they match you up with what is the best mattress for you. And my man Vinny tried it.
And it was fire.
Yeah, fire. So go to helixsleep.com/Stevo. You'll get up to $200 off of any mattress that you want to get. Plus, not only that, you get 2 free pillows from Helix Sleep too. helixsleep.com/Stevo for the mattress of your dreams, and up to $200 off that mattress, plus 2 free pillows. Now, you're crazy if you don't jump on that. So, helixsleep.com/Stevo. Enjoy, and let's get back to it.
Can you recap the story about the guy's house you went to that had the shark in the pool?
Yeah, man, that was this guy Sam McGee, and he was a fucking he was a legend. So he basically went long gold. I think it was I forget when, but right before he went to LA, and I don't know, he ended up cashing out for around $700 million. That's how the story goes. And he fucking goes to LA, and he's got a degenerative disease where he knows he's gonna die. This guy's got $700 million, and he basically fucking just does everything that a guy that, you know, fucking may not see tomorrow does, right? And so it's like, fucking guy said he was gonna like stock his house in Versace tile, and you know, we thought he was full of shit. He's like, oh, I ordered it from Italy, it's $4 million. They're like, yeah. Like sometimes you, like, you know, we would just like blow off stuff that he would say, but then sure enough, this stuff came in, and he like literally lined his entire house in Versace tile, even the top of the poker table, right? So like the cards are flying off because you want felt. He like made things worse, right? Then he goes on a gambling bender, loses a shitload of money, decides the tile's bad luck, has it all ripped out of the fucking house. Anyway, so the guy's capable of whatever, right? So he texts me or calls me, and it's like, I don't know, man, 2 a.m, and I'm like in bed with the chick, and I'm like, I'm not coming over there. He's like, come over, I got you a fucking present, it's fucking amazing, and blah blah blah. I'm like, bro, I'll be over tomorrow, like I'm sure, you know, can wait. He's like, no, I can't wait. He's like, come on over, blah blah. I'm like, what is it? He's like, I'm not telling you, it's a secret. Now, you know, I'd given this guy like Ferraris and fucking Audemars watches and shit, so like when we gave each other gifts, it was pretty significant events. And so I knew it was like something crazy because I was so fucking excited about it. And anyways, I'm like, finally, I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, baby, get in the car. She's like, I'm not getting in the fucking car. Because she knew, like, when we went over to his house, it was like a black hole. Like, you would go there and, like, maybe, like, you just, like, wouldn't leave for fucking 2 days. But you'd leave a lot richer. But, like, you know, it was this whole thing. And you never knew what was happening. Like, there could be fucking hookers running around. Like, it'd be spraying him with baby oil. I mean, like, paying him to hit golf balls into the neighbor's house. I mean, the guy was out of his fucking mind, right? And so he tells me, he's like, he finally spits it out. This is the reason I decided to go over there. He's like, I got fucking tiger sharks. I got one for you and me, and they're going to be like brothers, and they're going to live together forever, and all this whole fucking thing. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I got you tiger sharks. Come on over. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, okay, the guy who got tiger sharks, kind of want to see him, you know? So I get in the car, drive over there, and I'm like, on the way over there, I'm wondering, like, fuck, this guy build like a fucking, you know, $5 million aquarium in his house, but where the fuck is he gonna put tiger sharks in? I mean, like, just drawing out all these things in my mind. I'm like, I'm legitimately curious. But I know he has them because he says he's got them. And the guy's like, if he says he's got them, he's got them. So I go over there, and It's fucking look in his pool. He's got 3 fucking like king size tiger sharks fucking in the pool, and there's like fish bones and shit in there. I'm just like, what the fuck? And I go over the shallow, and there's like this big fucking shark, and I like kind of like, oh, I'm like curious, like kind of like grab by the tail, and like thing doesn't move, and I like grab it again and give it like a fucking jerk, and like blood comes out of the gills. I'm like, bro, like fucking shark is dead, man. Like what the fuck? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, dude, the shark is dead. I'm like, this is a fucking pool. Like, what are you doing? You can't put like tiger sharks in there. Like, they're saltwater animals. And he like looks at me. He's like, you don't think I thought of that? Like, I'm the idiot. And I'm like, I like look in the bottom of this pool. This fucking guy's throwing like Morton's salt shakers. Like he's like throwing all the salt in his house in the pool. He's like so fucked up on blood that he like really believes that he's like turned this into a saltwater pool.
So he killed tiger sharks?
Yeah, like unknowing, like that's how fucked up this guy was.
You
like,
wanted to hear that story?
I wanted to hear the story.
yeah, it was pretty fucked up. And then they were in there for like 2 weeks until like his fucking like just stinking. It was horrible. It was like. Yeah, this guy, he was legitimately out of his mind. He did more cocaine than anybody I've ever met, and it's not even close. Like, he would have, like, I remember one time we were playing poker, and this dude, like, delivers a duffel bag of cocaine, and I'm just like, look at this thing, and I'm like, what's in there? It's like, oh, it's a little bit of fucking blow or something, and I, like, open it up. It was, like, fucking just kilos. I mean, this is, like, if somebody would have fucking, like, found this, they'd have been like, this dude's, like, one of the biggest drug dealers in L.A., and it was, like, for personal supply. Like, he didn't sell it. Like, this was just for him.
Yeah, I mean, where do people like that? Where do people with $700 million? Who do they buy blow from?
I don't know. I mean, it was like Pablo Escobar. This
like
fucking guy must have bought it from, because I've never seen this much coke in my life. Like, literally, just like bricks of it. And it was funny because you would watch him do it, and he would go through so much coke a day. But I mean, I would say only like 10, well, like only like 10 to 20% would actually get up his fucking nose, right? Like most of it ended up on a shirt or in the air. Like, you would just get like contact high. I remember he's in a helicopter and like there's fucking coke all over there, and the pilot's like going crazy, like, dude, what are you doing? You know, like it's just in the fucking air ventilation system, and he was just so messy with it. But he didn't give a fuck because he had like an endless supply. But the point is that like he would still do more than would like kill a normal person, but like most of it was on his clothes and around the house. Like,
and you said this guy was terminally ill?
Yeah, he had some like rare autoimmune disease, so he had, I think it was like 8 years to live, or some short period of time. Well, 8 years is the max, but he was like supposed to die in 2 years or something.
Wow.
And so he was just like hell bent on blowing this money. He lost $82 million gambling one year. I mean, that was like how I got in with this guy. I was over at Nick Cassavetti's house, and we were fucking, and I was like losing, and this fucking guy walks in, and I was like down 150,000, which for Nick's game was a lot. Like the buy-in was like 10 grand. And this guy walks in, and Nick's like, oh, like, you know, you could get even tonight. And I'm like, yeah, go fuck yourself. And he's like, no, seriously. I'm like, yeah, fuck you. He would always bust my balls. Anyways, this guy comes in and just like starts betting $50,000 without looking at his cards, and he had lost like 50,000 with two hands had been dealt. He's already down 50 grand before the first orbit. He lost 100, and then he starts going all in without looking at his cards. And I like look at Nick. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? And that was the first time I met him, was like him just going off like that. And so then he would like invite me to his house, and we would play heads up poker. And he was hopeless. Like, the guy was just like, he wouldn't look at his cards. He was like so distracted. I would bring over girls. He's like so distracted with the fucking girls. All he cared about was like getting pussy. And like,
This is the first time you met him?
At Nick's house.
Is he doing coke in that game?
Massive amounts of coke. He had he had coke all over his nose. He looked like he was like eating powdered donuts, you know. And when he walks in the door, it was just like guys like sweating profusely, like wearing all black. And it was funny that he always wore all black because his coke would show up all over his clothes. Like, anyway, so he actually went to the bathroom, comes back, and he's like fucking rips another one, and he's like playing and whatever. And like Nick's assistant comes over to Nick, and he's like, hey, like, I think there's like, you know, some fucking, you know, dog shit on the floor or whatever. Nick's like, okay, well, fucking clean it up. Like, leave me alone. I'm playing poker. Guy comes back like a few minutes later. I could hear what he's saying to Nick because he's close to me. And he's like, I gotta tell you, like, you know, I think like fucking Sam shit on the floor, you know, and he's like stomped around in it, you know, he's like tracking it through the house. And Nick's like, okay, like, go clean it up. And I'm just like sitting there like, this dude took a shit on your floor and he's stomping it through the house and you're not going to do anything about it. So I'm like, tell Nick, I'm like, bro, you just let people just shit all over your house, huh? He's like, listen, motherfucker, this dude's down $700,000 in a fucking $10,000 buy and book game. He can shit my bed if I want to, if he wants to. Yeah, I'll never forget that. I was like, fair point.
That's fantastic.
What's the difference in the mindset of like you hang out with billionaires and 100 millionaires? What's the difference in mindset of how those guys made their money and somebody like me that's not there yet? You know, like what's the difference?
I mean, greed probably. You know, like just I mean, in order to get to $1 billion, you have to like. I mean, there's a few factors. Like unless you like hit the lottery or some shit, like you have to really.
There's
really
a ruthlessness.
Well, yeah, you have to be super shrewd. You have to really fucking like want like infinite amounts of money. You have to, because I mean, most people they make like a couple $100 million. So like I got 200-300 million. I got enough. Like I don't need to make no more money. I don't need to work. Like I got more than I can spend. You know what I mean? Like you have to really like want money to become like a billionaire and a billionaire multiple times over, like a lot of these guys. Because to me, it's like when I hit $1 billion, $2 billion, I'm out. Like I'm never gonna work another fucking day of my life. Like I'm not gonna do anything that I don't want to do for money ever. Like ever again. I'm not gonna fucking take meetings. I'm not gonna fucking like network. I'm not gonna fucking do shit. Nothing. Like I'm just gonna live my life and do whatever the fuck I want, which is similar to how I live now, but like occasionally I take meetings, right? None of those. But these guys, man, like they just have a different mindset. It's like they just want more and more and more. And I think it's true of like money, pussy, power. There's like a few things where they're like black holes where like if that's your focus and that's what you want, like you're gonna just go down that road. There's no end to it. You know?
Well, it's like what you said about the OnlyFans. Like, fuck, if I'm making 50,000, I want 70. You know? Like I want like it, and you were really speaking Scots language on that. You know.
Yeah. Well, because it's like because it's not hard work. Because there's a lot of people that work 18-hour days and they grind it out. It's like there's got to be a different like.
Well, okay. Oh, you're talking about in that sense. So you're talking. Well, I mean, I don't know anything about you. I don't know what you do. But if you're saying like compared to a normal guy, what's the difference?
Yeah.
A normal guy is focused on basic needs met. A normal guy is like, oh, I want this fucking badass motorcycle. Like they're thinking like small ball. They're thinking like, okay, what do I got to do to get this motorcycle? Like when I look at business, I'm like, how can I make the most amount of money in the least amount of time possible? Like my goal is to make money. I'm not there to fucking enjoy my job. I'm not finding something that I like to do. I want to make the most money in the shortest period of time possible and then focus the rest of my life on doing the shit I want to do and not have to fucking answer to anybody, not have to take shit from anybody. That's my goal with money. So I look at it differently. You know, I've got friends that are like, regular blue collar guys, and they like, they're like, okay, like I want to open this gym because I like working out, and I'm just like, that's not scalable. Like, well, what you're trying to do, like this guy want to build like small houses or like, I'm just like, the shit you're trying to do is not scalable. Like you want to focus on a business that you can franchise, you can scale, like something that you can like have a home run, but that you can also make like good money. It's like you want to have like a bunch of sticks in the fire. You want to have that home run possibility. You want to have the sure money. Like I just look at it much more analytical, and a lot of these people are, focused on like putting food on the table and like, it's just a different thought process, and like also you have to have like a strong like ability to take risk. Like a lot of people are not nearly fucking like capable of taking the kind of risk that a lot of these billionaires take. I know billionaires that go broke, and it doesn't surprise me. Like it surprised a lot of people, but it doesn't surprise me because in order to have that mentality of like, I want more, you have to constantly be overreaching. So it's like for these guys, like Andy Beal, I mean, I think the guy lost like $4 billion shorting Tesla or some shit, you know what I mean? Like, and I've seen guys like, and he was almost like considering going all the way. And if he would have gone all the way, I think he might have gone broke. And so it's like, to me, like once you have $1 billion, you should literally never go broke. Like you should, okay, go gamble with 100 million. Like, you want to make more money, fine. Like, take a piece and just like, risk that. But like these guys will risk it all, and sometimes that's why they got where they got is because they're willing to fucking risk it all. Like a buddy of mine, he was worth $500 million. I'm talking to him on the phone. I'm like, just like he had like almost all of his money in this hedge fund, I'm just like, and he was running the hedge fund and he was like taking a lot of risk. He's a natural gas trader. And I'm just like, bro, like stop. Like you're getting a 30% free roll on everybody's money that's in the funds. You still have fucking upside. Like what's the difference in your life quality if you go from 500 million to $1 billion? Not much. Now you can own the yacht or maybe have a bigger yacht. but if you rent it, you're still on the same fucking yacht, the same amount of time. Like, your lifestyle doesn't really change that much. But if you you cut in half, or you lose, 400 million, your life changes a little bit. It's like the analogy I give in poker. It's like, if you've got $100 million and some guy in poker says, I'll give you 10 to 1 odds and I'll flip you a quarter for that fucking $100 million. So I'll give you $1 billion if you win, or if you lose, you go broke. You never take that flip. Like, anybody takes that flip's a fucking idiot. And most times in life, you're not getting 10 to 1 odds on your fucking money. So, like, once you get to a certain level of wealth, like, you shouldn't be taking big risks with your money. There's a lot of ways to have possible home runs, with like some seed capital and a startup or whatever, where you're not risking like all your fucking money. So, like, I think a lot of people just think about it wrong, and they take risks unnecessarily.
Hustler Academy over here, dude.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, it's important, like, because you have to understand, like, the incremental difference between having 700 million and having $1 billion is not much. But, like, or 500 million to 700, it's like your life doesn't change that much. But, like, when you start going the other way, your life starts changing. You start working. I mean, depending on, like, how spread out you are, because a lot of these guys are spread out. Like, I mean, I own a plane. I pay $3 million a year just for my fucking plane, So, like, people have, like, nuts, you know what I mean? Like, there's, like, costs that you have to cover. You got 5 houses. I got 27 staff members. You know what I mean? Floyd's got 360 people on the payroll. So it's like, it depends on like how big your operation is, but like, as you get more wealth and as you get more properties, you have to have people take care of the properties. There's all this shit, right? So like, it scales. And so I don't know. It's probably a fucking long-winded answer. But,
no, I love it,
it's epic, dude. Thank you for that.
It's epic, and I'm asking because like I've always had this idea of like it's all perception, and so like I always wanted to write a book anonymous, and then have like I would ask you, hey, give me a 1-pager of what your idea about money is, and then you would write a page about it. It wouldn't even be what your name is, but at the bottom would be what your net worth was, and then the next person. So you get like a poor person, you get a rich person, you get all different varying degrees of it, because some people are like, man, money's the root of all evil, it's this, is that. It's like, well, they probably don't have money. Or is that accurate?
I mean, so I've got different theories on that too. I mean, basically the way I look at it is, a lot of people equate money to happiness, and it's not. It's more freedom. And I think money brings happiness and pleasure as you go up. But what people don't understand is, like, once you have basic needs met, you don't get incremental happiness for more money. You do for a short period of time. Like, if you're a $100,000 a year guy and I bump you to 200,000, you're going to be happy. But that's not going to last. You're going to get used to 200,000. I mean, it's stripper mentality, right? Like, a stripper makes $10,000, she spends $10,000, and now all of a sudden her baseline, what she's used to, the baseline doesn't bring you happiness, right? A baseline is 0. You can go up to 10, you can go down to -10, but let's just set that the baseline is 0. Or you want to set a baseline of 5 and the top is 10 and the bottom 0, whatever. The point is, wherever you are in your baseline, that doesn't bring you happiness. My problem is, and a lot of rich people, their baseline is a fucking 10. So, like, there's nothing that I buy that brings me happiness. I bought a Ferrari. I wasn't happy for more than 24 hours. Put 100 miles on the fucking thing in a year and got rid of it. Like, I just didn't care. But when I was younger, that would have brought me to a fucking 10. The difference was my baseline when I was younger was a fucking 3 or a 4. When I was in the military, it's probably a fucking 1. You know what I mean? Like, making $860 a month. So, like, depending on where your baseline is, you have a lot more, leeway to go up. And if you're making $860 a fucking month, you don't really have very far to fucking go down. So the thing is, like, when you get used to a high level of wealth, and now, like, every car that you drive is a, fucking Mercedes or a Rolls or whatever the fuck ever, then like when you go and rent a car from Hertz, it's always a fucking letdown. If like you're staying in a fucking, $30-40 million house, and you go out and you rent a house, it better be a pretty fucking baller house or it's going to be a letdown. Like, when I travel, I got to bring all my staff members, chefs, assistants, fucking all this shit, so that I can like semi-maintain like what I'm accustomed to, or else it's kind of a letdown. Like, so it's, it sounds cool and whatever, but sometimes, like, it's a blessing and a curse. When you're used to this level, then all these things are letdowns. So it's like, that's why I think a lot of like rich people are unhappy, is because, like a normal guy look at a rich guy and be like, oh, well, this motherfucker's driving a Lamborghini, he's got the hot bitch, he's, eating the fucking good steak. Like, how could he not be happy? Because to him, if he were to step into those shoes, that would immediately make him happy. But this guy's used to all that shit. So when this guy doesn't get a perfect steak, or his fucking bitch is an 8 instead of a 10, he's like, what the fuck, And so, and most people look at that and be like, oh, that dude's unappreciative, or he, blah, 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 like, But no, he's just used to that shit, And it's like he's had that for so long that's what he's used to, And so I think perception is the big thing. That what I want to do when I become a billionaire is go work at Walmart for 3 months and have like a full reset. Not Walmart, I probably work construction. But like whatever the fuck it is, like $100,000 a year job. Basic needs met, but like a massive fucking like change in life. Right? And then you get used to that, just like when I got out of boot camp. Man, I was like happy to go to fucking, Outback Steakhouse. That was a 10 for me. Getting 8 hours of sleep was a motherfucking 10. There's like a lot of things where it was like after boot camp, man, like basic shit, like somebody not screaming at me all motherfucking day was nice. You know what I mean? Like, so it's all perspective. You get out of a concentration camp, you're gonna be fucking happy about a lot of shit, know? So it's like a lot of these people bitch that their fucking life sucks and this and that, but it's like, it's all relative. Like if you're used to, a shitty life, then a lot of things are going to give you these pleasure spikes. I can't get pleasure spikes anymore. I fuck a hot bitch, it's whatever. You know what I mean? I get a badass car, it's whatever. You know what I mean? Like I eat a great meal, satisfies me, you know what I mean? But I'm like, I'm not getting those pleasure spikes. And for a guy that like has been seeking pleasure for so long, it's kind of shitty. And I compared it in the book. It's like being a drug addict. It's like you take a being a pleasure seeker is like being a drug addict. You take a Percocet, makes you feel good. Now 2 weeks later, you got to take 2 Percocets to get the same feeling. 3 weeks later, you're taking 3, 4, 5, and then eventually you're taking them just to not feel like shit, and you don't get high anymore. Same thing with pleasure.
So what gets you high now? Big hands of poker?
No, I mean, there's just not a lot. You know what I mean? So really the answer is you got to like focus on happiness and not pleasure, because pleasure is like fleeting, and pleasure is one of those things where it's like, it's a black hole.
So what makes you happy?
Oh, fuck. Surfing, doing mushrooms, hanging with my friends. You know what I mean? Like this shit that doesn't cost money, to be honest with you. You know, it's kind of funny, but like, the stuff that like you really will get happiness from. I know it's like cliche, but doesn't fucking cost money. I got fucking all the money. You know what I mean? I've done all the shit. Like, you know what I mean? Fucking. But it's, the stuff that doesn't really cost money is the shit that makes me happy. And so.
You like surfing?
I do. I'm not great at it, but I
suck
like
at it, but I fucking try.
I've towed into some 30-footers.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Where?
Really?
Kauai. It's funny, man. It was my least liked picture. I like risked my life. I'd never like towed into any bombs before, and the guy that I'm like with, it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, man, it's firing today. Let's go out. He's like, I got a local friend that'll like tow us in. I'm like, what's the danger level on that? He's like, you'll be good, dude. You've been preparing for this your whole life. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you've been wake surfing. He's like, you're good. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. And so we're like driving out there, and the guy Black Bear was his name. He's like, he was talking to me about it. He's like, you've done this before, right? I'm like, no, not really. He's like, what's the biggest wave you surfed? I'm like, I mean, I got like the shit beat out of me on like some 10 or 12 footers, but I didn't really like surf any of them. He's like, so like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. He said this is safe. And the Black Bear looks over at my buddy. He's like, what? He's like, you could get fucking killed. He's like, man, this is like a fucking engine piston. Like, it'll force you down to the bottom, blow your eardrums out. Like, he's like, you can hold your breath for a while, right? I'm like, not really. I'm like, maybe like a minute. He's like, oh, man. He's like, you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, we're like almost there. I'm like, I don't know, should I? He's like, probably not. And my buddy's like, don't be a fucking pussy. He's like, anyways, long story short, I go out and I do this, I surf these fucking waves. It's kind of similar to like wakeboarding, which I had done my whole life because you're strapped in. But you're going like 50 miles an hour. Like you're fucking skipping across the water. And it's not like a smooth lake, right? There's like fucking chop. I mean, it's a goddamn ocean. So I'm like skipping across waves, within the wave at like 50 miles an hour, knowing that if I eat shit, I'm like probably fucking decent chance of dying. And I got, like a few pictures of it and posted it. And it was like my least liked photo ever on Instagram.
So there, yeah. Nobody gives a crap about me
Nobody gives
surfing
a
either.
fuck, man. I don't care. I'm like in a $1 million truck jumping 100 feet. They're like, whatever, man. Big tits. They're smashing the like button.
I flew 5 planes in Madagascar, took a photo surfing. It got whatever likes. I take a picture of Steve sleeping on the plane that gets like tens of thousands of likes. It's like,
when you like, it's probably setting up like an Instagram. You get an idea for an Instagram photo, and you're like, okay, we're gonna set this up.
I never do it, man. I did. I mean, like maybe for Ignite or something, but like, yeah, I just try and have my shit just very organic and authentic. I feel like the internet is very good at like seeing through bullshit. Like there have been some stuff like, we did a photo shoot for like Christmas, where I got like 2 chicks and I got a fucking thing. So there's gonna be like some where it's like for something, but 99% of the stuff that I post is just like candid shots of like
it's
what
like,
I'm doing.
okay, like I happen to be with like 8 super hot chicks on a fucking tank with like a bazooka. So like this is the time to
the tank one was definitely a setup shot, but I did rent the tank and I drove over the car, and but yeah, the picture that I posted was one where I'm just like sitting on the thing, and but yeah, man, it was like, for me, I wanted, and I told my camera guy this early on, I'm like, I just want to like do this shit, and you capture it. If you don't capture it, like, it's gone. You know what I mean? So try and capture it, because we're not going to redo it. We're not going to, set up shots. Because to me, man, all that shit is just not authentic. I see a lot of guys trying to like copy the shit that I do, and it's like, okay, let's get like 8 models here, and all the girls are looking at the camera, and it's just like, you just know it's a shot that like everybody had to like set up. And it's not cool, like perceived effort is like
pretty cool.
Well, I mean, yeah, if they're fucking them, but not if they're just like paying these bitches to sit around them. So for an Instagram photo, like that's not cool. Like if it's like post orgy, then cool, you know what I mean? But like,
I'll give you that.
But that's what I'm saying. But authenticity, you know what I mean? Like, and these guys are like posting chicks they're not fucking. Like I'm not posting girls I'm not fucking. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, like if it's a group photo, I didn't always fuck every chick in the group. But I'm saying like if I'm posting a girl on my Instagram, it's a chick that I'm fucking. Like it's not like
integrity.
Yeah, exactly. It's like posting a picture of another man's car. Like, you don't do it, So, like, I had, like, rules, of, like, what I was going to do. And I think that's why, like, dude, I mean, I've been doing this shit for, like, 10 years, Like, it's not like... And you look, like, old school, like, I mean, you're my generation. Like, these fucking people that, they were in Hollywood. I mean, usually, like, they had, like, 5 years, of, like, a run rate. And social media's changed it. Like, you can kind of, like... be out there for a long time now, like because you're just constantly in people's faces, whereas movie stars, they do a movie, 6 months later it comes out, people watch it, it's 2 hours, and then it's like it's done, right? So like for them to kind of like stay in the spotlight, it was more difficult. The game's changed, so
yeah, dude, it's gnarly, man. I've been at this for 20 plus years.
You're an OG. I grew up watching your shit, so yeah.
I've seen you at UFC fights a bunch. Like when there's big fights in Vegas, are you doing like after parties at this compound?
No, man. I mean, definitely not for UFC. I've never done anything for UFC fights. I've always been a fan of the sport. I was doing jiu-jitsu actually before UFC 1 came out. So so I've been kind of like in that whole thing. And I remember when the first one came out. And it's funny, man. I've actually been able to spot stuff like this pretty well. Like I was like, this is gonna be fucking the shit, people are gonna watch this, and everybody's like, no fucking way, and then like I remember when the first Maxim magazine came out, I was like, this is gonna be cool, so like I've been able to spot some stuff pretty good, but UFC was definitely one of them where I was like,
man, I love it.
It's like the age-old question, right? Like when we were kids, like who would win in a fight, Batman or Superman?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like,
that's so well put.
Yeah, like who's gonna win? The fucking the boxer or the fucking the martial artist? Like nobody knew. Like when we grew up, nobody knew. Nobody knew who the badass was. Nobody knew who really would win. And this actually like showed you who's gonna fucking win. There's a lot of guys that talk shit, a lot of guys that hit mitts and look good on the mitts, but like who's gonna actually win in a fight?
Right. All we had was Hulk Hogan Hogan versus Rocky.
Yeah, exactly. Like the bullshit fights, you know? And so this is the real deal, man. And yes, I loved it. I've always been a fan of that sport.
Dan, I'm scared of the idea of being at one of your parties, but I also really want to.
I can't believe you never came to any.
Yeah,
in LA.
man. Like, and now we're linked up, dude. If you're having a party, man, dude, shoot me a text, man. That'd be killer.
Man, I'd hate to fucking throw you off the wagon, but
Dude, I'm pretty solid. Like, I'll make sure I come with a sober buddy.
yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
I guess that, like, right out of the book, like, do you have a legitimate reason for being there? It's like,
Yeah, they were debaucherous, man. Fuck, man. I remember some of those parties were it was just absolute mayhem.
yeah, dude.
And it was a cool thing because it was like I grew up in the whole Playboy era, you know, before they fucking killed it with the fucking one-legged fat chicks trying to be inclusive. You know, like I remember when it was like legit, you know, and Hugh Hefner was doing his thing, and it was just always like a dream of mine to go to one of those parties or like be a part of that scene. And I feel like I actually did it, you know, to a higher level, you know, like
Sure you did.
like fucking he never had 3,000, you know what I mean? Like there was this, and I was adamant about the girls that came to these parties, you know what I mean? Like there was a fucking like strict like cutoff, you know. It was like if a chick was overweight or she was, you know, not wearing lingerie, I mean, they would just, you know, fucking shut them out right at the thing. I mean, there was like girls in the driveway, like wrapped around the thing, like taking off all their fucking clothes because it was a lingerie party. And it was like the guys like, give a fuck if you're Emily Ratajkowski, you're not getting in here unless you're in fucking lingerie. So they'd be stripping their clothes off.
Gotta have integrity.
Yeah, you can't have one chick in a dress. It fucks it up.
So, for the people listening here, we want to get them on the Ignite fucking train. So, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I mean, it's tough, man. Like they're like all of our products are vices, you know. So like I hate to like, and that's kind of why I don't promote as much because like I don't really like to push vices on people. But you know, if you're
if you're
a vapor,
then
you know
stop
what I mean?
being a pussy and use Ignite.
Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, no, and our tequila is really fucking good too,
There
man.
you
I
go.
legitimately like drink our fucking tequila. You know, I'm using the stuff that you know are my vices. You know, and and it's good products, man. Like it took me about 2.5 years to do the tequila. Like we really did like a lot of tasting, and like we did blind tastings and shit at the house and stuff too. So it was like my goal is to have like a 1942 quality tequila for a fifth of the price. You know,
Right.
so we did that, and then. You know, our vapes are good too, man. Our vapes are really fucking good. We got, you know, I mean, there's a lot of these vape companies coming out now, like, you know, like Elf Bar, for instance. They like say that they have 5,000 puffs.
That's what I smoke. I smoke Elf Bar, yeah.
But they're
Yeah,
not.
it's
They're
time
not.
to stop being a pussy.
But they're
And
not.
go
But
to-
they're not. But they're not 5,000 puffs. Like I've taken them apart. Like you can see the juice thing. Like
Yeah.
but it's a Chinese company. They lie about the puff count. You know, it's like this whole thing, right? But they're operating with impunity. They're selling stuff in the U.S. It's like totally illegal. I think they actually just got busted now too. For somebody had patented or copyrighted the name Elf Bar and let them just run for 2 or 3 years, make all this
Wow.
fucking money, and
then-
now they're entitled to all of it. Like if so like let's say that somebody had the rights to Steve-O or whatever, they could come after you for every dollar that you made in the last 20 years of Steve or however it works, right? Like but all the money, not like a piece, just all of it. And so apparently somebody's got the trademark to Elf Bar, and so they might just be like totally fucked. That was the last I'd heard about that company.
Can we get one of your 27 staff members to run out Ignite Vape for this fucking...
Yeah, for sure.
What do you know about the law that's passing, or if there is one, about the flavors?
In the U.S., it's crazy, man. I don't really know what they're doing. I think California is like, I think they've shut out flavors.
Yeah.
Some states have. We're honestly, man, we're focusing much more on like
International.
outside the U.S.
for sure.
Yeah.
Right. All right, well, we're going to get Vinny set up with an Ignite Vape so
Sweet.
he can put down that pussy shit.
I want to take a rip.
And anything else, we got the Ignite Tequila. If you're going to drink, don't be a pussy, dude. Drink Ignite Tequila.
Yeah, man. I drink it. You know, I'm not a big drinker, but when I do drink, it's
Right.
that's mine.
And any other shit that we want to promote for you?
Honestly, dude, the vapes have just been fucking murdering it. That's really like where, you know, the future is, because smoking is just so brutal, man. Like, everybody around you has got to breathe that shit in.
Yeah.
You know, you got some fucking family driving down the fucking street with their fucking minivan. All the kids are breathing the shit in.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, it's like
I
it's-
used to smoke. I quit. I don't want to be around it.
It's pretty brutal. Yeah, it's like really bad. I've seen people die of lung cancer, and it's like a pretty rough thing. So I'm a big like advocate of vaping over cigarettes, you know. And so
All right, so if you're smoking cigarettes, quit being a fucking pussy and use Ignite.
yeah, no, for sure, man. Cigarettes are just, it'll cost you pussy now. Like,
Yeah,
back
it
in the
will.
day, it was like it could get you laid, you know what I mean?
Right.
But now it's just not. And now I feel like having a vape is like the new like Coke bag. Like, these chicks will follow you around the fucking club if they don't have a vape, you know? I've seen it happen. Like, I know guys that don't even vape that have like vapes in their pockets.
Wow. All right. Well, dude, fuck, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
I appreciate the hell out of it, man. That was fascinating as fuck.
Yeah, no, man. I'm glad we finally connected.
I think we can all agree that was a lot of fun, and Dan Bilzerian is a cool ass dude. Plus, after this, like, he brought me on a tour of his house with Scott Randolph. It was ridiculous. I mean, where did he begin? Like, I have it all on my Instagram story. So if you got to this quickly enough, check out my Instagram. Hit my story. Check out his gun room, his hockey rink, like his indoor airbag. I mean, dude, it goes Richter. It's the most ridiculous house I've ever set foot in. And man, I'm speechless. So thank you for sticking around to the end. I love you. Yeah, dude.